Hello there. Today, I am going to show you how to write SOPs that increase the efficiency, consistency, quality, and scalability of your business. Let's get right to it. Now, before we begin, what is an SOP? SOP stands for Standard Operating Procedures. SOPs are a written step-by-step guide that helps you to consistently accomplish some goal. For example, let's say that a customer was looking at a service that you offered on your website. What would their next steps be? Once they reach out to you, what would you do next? Would you put them into a lead funnel? Would you reach out to them with an email or maybe a phone call? Once you get on the call and make the sale to them, what happens then? Do they get a follow-up response saying that they've been subscribed to your service? What does the whole process look like from the customer's perspective and from the perspective of your employees? So as it turns out, because of my technical background, I actually offer a service to do SOP reviews with the perspective of implementing technical solutions to solve the sticky points of your business and help scale things up. And if you came to me asking me for my services, one of the first things that I would do with you is walk through the SOPs of your business to make sure that I understood how the business functions and where those potential sticky points are. Now, the way that I would do this is by looking at your SOPs through the lens of what some in the software industry call the user journey. In this case, I would consider it a customer journey. The customer journey describes some goal that the customer has in mind when they reach out to you about your services or product, and how they interact with the employees or systems in your business in order to accomplish that goal. However, I don't believe it just ends there. When you're describing a customer journey, you should also have in mind the steps that happen behind the scenes inside the business, so that way you can identify where you have room for improvement. Because at the end of the day, when you improve things, it makes the life of your customer better and it makes the life of your employees better. So let's get back to actually writing these SOPs. Now that we've talked about what SOPs are and why you would want these, let's get to the steps of how to do it. So when writing your SOPs, there are two sets of questions that I like to use, and there are also two methods that I like to use to document. The first set of questions that I ask are what and then what. So we go step by step, understanding what happens, and then what happens, and then what happens. And this gives us the first level of your SOPs. This helps us to understand at a very high level what are going to be the step-by-step instructions that we would need to follow if we needed to service a customer. The second set of questions that I ask are what and how. So after the what and then what questions, we have our first level of steps. So then we go through each one of these and we ask what and how. Okay, for this first step, what happens and how does it happen? Under the how, we should have an additional set of items that describe how we accomplish the original thing that we set out to do. Asking what and how for each of those items gives us another layer of depth that we can use to describe our processes within our business. And here's the beautiful part. You can repeat the process over and over again and go deeper and deeper until you have described all of the steps that are needed in order to deliver some product or service. Now, when you're getting started, I would not suggest going more than 3 levels deep. The very top level, the level under that of hows, and then for each of those items, another level of hows. Okay, so now we have those 2 questions out of the way. We're going to use these in this next step, which is the documentation step. Now, like I said before, there are 2 methods of documentation. The first is the checklist method. The second is the flowchart method. The checklist method is great for quickly getting details and starting the process of feedback. It's typically a lot faster than the flowchart method, which takes more time to implement in a way that is understandable to other people when they look at it. So let's take a look at how to write your SOPs as a checklist. Here we have an example of a customer flow in which the customer calls for a window cleaning service. So you can see the method of what and then what. What happens first? First, we take the customer call. And then what? We book an appointment. And then what? We send an appointment confirmation. and so on and so forth until we reach the end of this customer journey. So now that we have the first layer defined using what and then what, now we can use the what and how method. So let's start at the top. When we take the initial customer call, how do we do that? Well, first we greet the customer. Then we answer questions. And then we ask if they're interested in booking an appointment. If not, we ask if they might be interested in the future. And then finally, we collect their information. As you can see, we outlined what and then what as the how for the first step. You could rinse and repeat this for each layer down that you go, but I typically wouldn't recommend that you go more than 3 levels deep for any given flow. If you're going that deep, then you can probably bump up some things. Now, all you do is rinse and repeat for the remaining top level items. As you're going through this exercise, you're going to notice certain areas that are ripe for improvement. This flow was constructed with the idea that we're doing everything manually, but maybe we could automate certain steps here. For example, maybe after we've performed the service, we could have an automated system immediately ask for a review, and maybe even automate the payment method after that service is performed. Another idea in this list would be to automate the appointment confirmation that gets sent after you book an appointment. And we're done. Now, the great thing about this is once you are done, you can reuse this everywhere. You can put it into your documentation systems. You can make copies for each new customer that comes through and literally use it as a checklist that you mark off as you are working through your delivery for your customers. Now, let's take a look at the second method for documentation, which is the flowchart. I particularly like to use the business process flow diagram. The benefit of this is that you can visually represent the steps that are taken by both the customer and by the employees inside of your business in order to solve the customer's needs. Let's take a quick look at this example that I have here. Okay, so here is a great example of what a business process flow diagram would look like for your business. What I particularly like about these diagrams is that you can see the various avatars and departments outlined in these sections from top to bottom. At the very top, we see the customer. Under that, we see sales. Under that, we see management. And below that, we see the credit department. So when we look at this particular customer journey, it all starts with the sales call. From there, it goes to the customer, and the customer buys the product. The customer fills out the credit form, which is then sent back to sales in the form of an order entry. I'm not going to read the rest of this, but you get the rough idea. You can see where the customer journey starts, all the in-between steps, and where it ends. And then you can also see the roles and responsibilities of each avatar and department in this customer journey. So now we've looked at the 2 sets of questions that you can use to outline your SOPs and the 2 methods that you can use to actually document them. I hope that this video was very, very helpful for you. And if you find now that you have your SOPs outlined and you want to explore potential technical solutions that will help you scale up in efficiency, quality, and consistency in the services and products that you offer to your customers and clients, then as I mentioned before, I actually offer an SOP review service. If that's something that would be of interest to you, or if you're just getting started and you need somebody to walk through these steps with you in person, all you have to do is look in the description down below and click my booking link. Once the page pops up, you'll see an option to select available times, and you'll see the price for booking that time. At the moment, aside from just reviewing your SOPs on the call, you are going to get a written checklist of your SOPs and a visualization of those SOPs that we discussed in the call for up to 3 of your customer-facing or internal processes. Now, let's say that you don't need my assistance at all in that department, but maybe your next step is to get an improved CRM so that you can engage, track, and follow up with your customers. Then I also have a great solution for you. You can check out the link in the description below for next steps. Well, that is going to be it for now, folks. I hope that this was really beneficial to you. Feel free to reach out if we can be of service to you in any way. Thank you. Have a great day.